Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of MTG Arena. Today is Monday, November 11th. We really just need victories, and we're not really getting anywhere otherwise. So, we have this festival that if this festival will work, I would like to get this done and just be done with it. Otherwise, we just need to cover the news, of which there's not a lot, and we'll be done with today's stream pretty quickly and abruptly. The only other thing I could do is go into like a silent post-show gameplay, which I could do, certainly. It's been a long time since I've done a silent post-show, back to when I was playing Hearthstone. You almost got like a Twilight Zone-esque theme playing in the background music here. It sounds almost exactly like Twilight Zone. But, this festival is kind of like a tavern brawl. It's pretty dumb. It is literally, with Oko's whims, it's just like you get random things, and so whether you win or lose seems almost 100% dependent on chance. Whereas if it was something a little bit more if this was something a little bit more controlled, that would be better. Like if I was discarding a red mana and it gave me a red mana creature of a random amount, that would be cool. If I was playing a red mana but discarding any color and it gave me a creature based on that, that would be cool. Even if it was based on what you discard versus what you play. You have like so if you play a red mana to cast a spell and then discard a white mana, you have a 50% chance of a red creature versus a white creature. Even that would be more strategic than what we're playing right now, which is just stupid, frankly. I mean, you might as well just boil this down to flip a coin, heads you win, tails you lose. That's pretty much all this is. And it's not doing anything to be educational. So it's showing me cards, and that's about as much education as you're gonna get. Just that you get to see some high level cards that you probably haven't seen before, but that's it. What is kicker? Must pay another additional cost as you cast a spell. If it was kicked, create a legendary 4/4 red dragon creature token. Verix and Karox. And yet this guy is bigger than me, so I can't do anything. I've pretty much lost already just because he got that one random creature. Alright, so we played a black, we discarded a red. What do we get? A red. We play a red, we discard a white. What do we get? A colorless. Yeah, and I guess the strategy kind of falls apart there on that, doesn't it? It's nice to see these cards, but this one, for instance, Gate Colossus, I think starts in your default decks, so you've seen this card almost certainly. Even if you've just played MTG Arena and not seen any other Magic, you've seen this card. Whereas this I haven't seen, and this I haven't seen, and some of this has to certainly do with the fact that they are the older expansions, and I'm intentionally avoiding the older expansions. See, trample's never gonna work, but I'm gonna stupidly hold on to it anyways. Honestly, this probably just boils down to who went first. Top 4 cards of their library into their deck, and that doesn't matter at all because all we have in our entire decks are just land. And yeah, nothing else has any abilities. You know, it's all basic land also. It's not even special land. So I defend against these 4. These 2 survive, and I lose. That's pretty much how this goes. It's such a coin flip. Hit that, hit that, hit that, hit that. Block. It does feel like they patched in a new animation though. I do like that they are doing something here. To try and improve the quality of some of this. Just sacrifice a card, apparently. Then we can't play anything more because we have to play this. Which that's an interesting animation, but it didn't do anything. So moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Discolored, which looks like it is tagged as a short atmospheric puzzle adventure game. It seems like it's mostly walking around an asset flip place, but what I am seeing is that there are something about triangles in particular. So perhaps you turn the color on and off of this world and try and fill it all in. Yep. It kind of looks like it's borrowing heavily from the Dark Side of the Moon catalog, or album, so I can't really blame them too much for that. So yeah, it does look like there's secrets and puzzles, and you're just looking for all the colors. This doesn't look terrible. They want $5.99 for it, discounted. They're saying it's similar to The Witness and Abduction, which, in fairness, that is accurate comparisons, it looks like. The Search seems to also be something. 13 achievements, single player only, and a bunch of languages. Let's look at The Search too. Search is mixed in comparison. So here you have a point and click adventure game. Let's look at some of the negative reviews and see why it's mixed. The game looks very good. It's not for me. It feels very pretentious in the way it's made. I don't mind the easy puzzles or the repetitive mechanics, as I was looking forward to know more, but in the end, all I got is quotes from Joseph Campbell and Carl Chung vaguely relating this in a simplistic way of thinking about creativity. That's all the game. The final punch was, man, these where did the read more button go? The narrator says something like, blah blah blah. What did I do to lose the read more button on these quotes? Let's see. Filter these reviews by negative. Very short game, about 35 to 40 minutes if that. Very simple, repetitive in what is required to finish the game. Glad I bought it when it was on sale for less than £1. The artwork is pretty, the story is exceedingly boring, and the dialogue has no impact on the game other than to have some garnish with quotes lifted from someone else's high school philosophy homework. Whilst the game is pretty, mechanics and pacing are often of hindrance to the flow. Basic game mentality is ignored in many places, and often transitions can be jarring and hard to execute. At heart it is good, but has many fundamental flaws. So that puts me in an interesting position. Do I want to play a flawed point-and-click adventure game that's super short? I don't really think so, and not in this order. I think what I would do is, let's assume that Discolored is the game that is going to be the better version of this. Interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. And so I'm gonna say, let's put this on the follow list, and then if this turns out to be reviewed well, I'll play this. If I really, really like this, I would go back and play his previous game for historical reasons there. But if it turns out that this game is not any better received than the previous game, then I don't see a real reason to go down that path and play something that's not going to be that interesting. Target another creature you control. So if I could pay this, I could give this a 7/7 and then attack. And I could do that with a trample character also. So next turn, we've got the advantage, we've won. Pretty much. That's what it boils down to, is like one move where... No. So at any point I can also sacrifice this and give it indestructible. Give a card indestructible. Next we have a game on Steam called Aquariron's World, which looks like it's a hex grid real-time strategy game. Maybe set in an underwater world. The graphics don't look particularly great, and I don't see any reason why I would be interested in the pre-alpha version of something like this right now. There's some weirdness, I guess. I guess I technically am looking for a StarCraft clone, but I'm also kind of not interested in a lot of real-time strategy games that are just clones of StarCraft. So, like, I need to start using auto-passing. That's what I need to start doing. This Aquarius game requires a email account and a third-party EULA. It's English and German. Do I even need to put this on the follow list? I'll be generous. I'll put it on the follow list, but almost certainly I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think it's going to be the one StarCraft clone that succeeds in a world of many real-time strategy games, because inherently I think the problem is StarCraft for its time spent a lot more energy than a real-time strategy game needed to, specifically writing in story and having characters and having personality, whereas I don't think that gets done as much in most real-time strategy games now. Not make it to the next turn. I want that to be a 7/7. Okay. I want to go ahead and discard this and play this, and let's see, discard this. So I've got the things, just not enough of them. So I said I won when I had this, but he managed to do enough damage to me that I've actually lost. It does really feel like a coin flip, or just whoever goes first, or perhaps whoever goes second. Game of Sutra has a dumb article here. I would say why the Hearthstone devs wanted to make an auto battler. The answer is obvious, because they wanted to have something that they competed with auto chess, and whatever the next big thing is, they'll almost certainly do the same thing. Intentionally just copying the other people. Alright. There's kind of no point in even blocking. So we'll just not bother. Resolve, auto pass, no blocks. These festivals have not been great so far. Of the 2 or 3 I've played, they kind of feel like they're just a waste of time to get skins, and I'm paying 2,500 gold, which is probably a lot more than I realized, to get a bunch of skins, and I'm not really getting any other enjoyment from it. Like, I don't know how else to really say it. It's just kind of dull. So I went first. Does that mean I win? Let's see. Draw a card and discard the card. No reason to do that. Again, Mr. J has an article. There's a report. Tencent wants to develop console games with the help from Nintendo. Oh, I'm sure they do. That way they could steal every bit of code and every bit of developer practice and everything whatsoever that Nintendo has developed over the past 5 decades or so. Like every business practice, everything that they've had to learn themselves. Tencent doesn't want to have to learn any of that themselves. They just want to steal it. Which, if I was Nintendo, I would say, heck no. The odds that Tencent alone is going to develop a good game is pretty ridiculously low. And it would also be worthwhile mentioning, with all the new Chinese restrictions on the, I heard it was like 30 to maybe 90 minutes a day of gameplay max that you can play, according to the new Chinese restrictions. The making games in China has just become incredibly a bad idea. China really is the mystery box when it comes to video games. They were trying to sell this. There's money in China. There's money in China. There's all these consumers in China, and then the government comes in and goes, all those kids you want to sell video games to? Guess what? We're going to limit how much time they can spend playing video games to such an extremely short amount of time that nobody's going to buy video games ever, because one game will last them an entire year. 30 minutes divided into a 60-hour game. If you're, just think about that for a second. That's 120 days. Right? Yeah. 60 hours would be 120 30-minute increments. If you can only play 30 minutes a day, that's 120 days. That's 1/3 of a year if you played every single day in China to beat one game. That is so ridiculously low. I think what I want to do is just kill this so that I can get rid of it and stop getting all the prompts. Of course, this article, this title, which is all I'm really looking at here, yeah, it's Tencent wants to make games for outside of China, which I guess makes more sense. Like, even the Chinese company knows they can't make money in China, but they're frankly not welcome in my book to the rest of the world. They're not welcome, and they're not wanted as a game developer. And I don't, even if they made the best game ever, I don't want to spend my time or my money on them. Gain 1 life and draw a card. Interesting. Yeah, and that's a strange thing to say in a lot of ways, because I would love to see, generally speaking, I want more competition always. I want to see as many companies possible making games, but as far as I'm concerned, Tencent doesn't deserve its position that it's been in. It was propped up by political government influence to become powerful. Nothing that they have done with that power has inspired me to think that they know how to make games or care to make games in any way or add to the creativity of video games. So I would put them on the level of a troll game developer, in the sense that I just don't think the video game industry needs them. Nobody needs Tencent. Tencent shouldn't exist from any factor, in my opinion. Okay. So when I play this, that lets me draw a card. So I need to always play a land first. Okay. What do we want to do? I'll do this to draw a card. And we'll do this to get rid of this. And we'll do this to get rid of this. And we'll see what happens. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Stadia launch lineup announced. 12 games at launch plus 14 more due out in 2019. So the full list here is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2, GYLT, never heard of it, Just Dance 2020, Kin, never heard of it, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider 20th Celebration, which I think that would be the second game, not Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is the third game. But yeah, it's all three of the Tomb Raider games actually. Samurai Showdown, Thumper, coming later in 2019, Attack on Titan 2, Final Battle, Borderlands 3, Darksiders Genesis, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Flight Simulator, Final Fantasy 15 Football Manager, Ghost Recon Grid, Metro Exodus, NBA 2K20, Rage 2, and Wolfenstein Youngblood. Not a thoroughly impressive lineup, particularly when you consider that you could have reached back into the back catalogs of a lot of companies to get rid of, to have more games that would have been playable through Stadia in particular. Like the fact that there's nothing there like hey, here's the Sega Genesis classics, here's Pac-Man, here's Tetris, here's some of those old school arcade games that we know for a fact are going to have no trouble running on Stadia, is kind of crazy. Meanwhile, in comparison, Apple Arcade has 100 titles in its lineup, and even if only 3 of those are worth mentioning, the number 100 is more impressive than the number of less than 20. See. TechRaptor has an article here. Pet powers, combat randomizer, and more added to Divinity Original Sin 2. So I guess if you're playing Divinity or Original Sin 2, you've got a lot more to play with. I'm just gonna get no blocks on that one. Alright, so the trick is play a land, that draws a card. Then do this, discard this. That should bring someone to the field. I think I may have lost the character that let me draw a card. Let's go ahead and attack with this. Let's attack with this one. And let's attack with this one. It's an interesting background sounds we're getting now. It seems like they tweak those. I like how they seem to be constantly tweaking and making updates, and not really making a big deal to say, hey, we're testing different audio, we've changed the animation a little bit. Maybe they're not really changing anything, and maybe I'm just dreaming this stuff up. But yeah, this whole background looks new to me. This might only be Oko's Whim's background, and then it gets introduced into regular play later on. That might be the case. But yeah, definitely does feel like they're changing things. Not being stagnant, not waiting until the next expansion. Let's see. Creature you control. Play. Draw. Summon. Discard. 25 or more life double strike. That'd be cool, but unlikely to happen. Ooh, so he's gonna get a 1/1 counter every time I gain life. Nice. Gamasutra has an article here. The U.S. Veterans Affairs is evaluating how more accessible games help veterans heal. Now, the VA department often looks as though it's dealing with the oldest of the old veterans from like World War II and the Vietnam War, but there is a wide amount of veterans that are helped through the VA, including people that are just hurt as like yesterday. So I imagine as some of the older veterans start dying out more, the younger ones will be more interested in playing games. And yeah, accessibility is an issue, always, and improving accessibility is nice. Hexproof, vigilant, flying, trample, hexproof again. Alright, so we're gonna attack with this, and attack with this. And does he have anything that could defeat this? Maybe if he blocked a couple of things. There's a quote here from this article. What we're seeing as one of the indicators of why veterans commit suicide is that isolation and loss of belonging, that loss of camaraderie. But if you're able to use your Xbox and still stay connected with your fellow Navy sailors, I mean, that's huge. I heard a side story here. This has nothing to do with video games, where apparently a military guy was getting his friends to smuggle him in whiskey by shipping it as a care package inside of mustard bottles. So sounded to me like the guy had a drinking problem. But I guess also military readiness is a concern, and they probably don't want you drinking alcohol unregulated and unwatched. Let's see. Particularly when you're deployed. Target a creature you don't control. Sure. This, and this, and attack. And I win one way or the other. He defeats all of these guys by blocking, then I attack next turn and have double strike. If he doesn't block all three of these guys, I win this turn. TechRaptor has an article. Airplane mode lets you be a passenger on an airplane. Sounds like one of the worst games ever. But, okay. It seems like that exists. And that really is just, I think, a great indicator of how little news there is. And pretty much at that point into the stuff that was left over from Friday, as far as games, and maybe we have a bit more news. I think we need one more victory on this dumb festival, and then we'll be done with it. One more victory, maybe. Maybe if we got a quick disconnect, I'd be perfectly happy. Quick concession. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Woo Room, which looks like it's a very artsy, claymation, surreal. I don't even know what art style you really call this. Is this some kind of neo-surrealism? It's so colorful, but then also abstract in its shapes, I would say. The problem with these is these kind of games usually are just super weird for weirdness sake, and they never really are something I'd want to play. Let's see. This is the battlefield. Discard any number of cards and draw that many cards. Alright, well, do that if you wish. Yeah, I don't think I can play a game that's strange just for strangeness sake. I think that's a waste of time. Speaking of waste of times, why didn't they just write this so it discards a random card in your hand? This is a special emblem card that I don't believe actually exists or ever was actually printed in a card. So why didn't they say, hey, instead of picking to discard a card, why don't you just randomly discard a card? That would eliminate a step and make it way quicker to activate an ability. Yeah, so I feel like these positive reviews that we have right now are probably joke positive reviews. This is free to play, so I guess it doesn't matter. English, full audio. It's promotion for another game called Ultra Strangeness that isn't out yet. Yeah, I don't cover free to play games. If this looks interesting to you, check it out. I suppose it looks to me like it's just weirdness for weirdness sake, though, and that's not something I want to waste my time on. protection from blue. Interesting. So I can block a blue? Maybe? And recently I learned that protection from blue means protection from blue spells on top of blue creatures. So there kind of is this need for a secondary key phrase to say takes no damage from immune to blue creatures or something like that. Artifact creatures you have flying. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna win here or not. It doesn't seem like there's a good chance of that. This really is just always a coin flip, isn't it? So that's an artifact creature, so that gets flying. I suppose it's worth mentioning Rick and Morty is airing 5 new episodes starting last night. I watched it. I don't know if there's anything else to really say there. It seems to me like what's going on there is there isn't a high chance of Rick and Morty being super interesting or good until maybe the last episode or last couple episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if these 5 episodes are the bad episodes and then 5 more episodes come out like a year from then and those are the better ones. There's an inherent problem with writing things so far in the past now that you really don't have anything new to say. Don't get me wrong, I like Rick and Morty when they're good, but then the bad ones are particularly bad. Let's see. This defender. Do I want to attack? No. And the end of the last season of Rick and Morty probably was as good of a point as any to end it. In fact, I went back and watched the end, or a bit of the end, like the last few minutes of the end of the last season, and that really just reminded me how they really hadn't gone anywhere or done anything with the story, because I think they pretty much already wrapped it up. Oops, how did I die there? I don't even know. On the other hand, you could have, if Rick and Morty was just like Family Guy, it would be pretty boring, like Family Guy has gotten and has been for many seasons. Or if it was like The Simpsons, it would be pretty boring. Yeah, Rick and Morty in particular seems like it will probably outstay its welcome and just live long enough to see itself become another long-running animated comedy series that is allowed to continue because people will just watch it because of familiarity more than anything else. It's a shame TV doesn't really embrace the idea of reboots as much as video games do, because if you remade something like The Simpsons and took its 15 seasons and boiled it down to the good episodes, you would have a better experience there, and you could reanimate those or reanimate the good episodes and have it be a much better looking cartoon and much more consistent storyline and dialogue. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Kaja, which is not English as far as the language support. It looks like it's just a platforming game, box climbing, box motion game. Looks like a Chinese game, if I was to guess. $1.99, Chinese only, yeah. Nothing terrible about this, and the price seems at least fair for what it's offering. Let's do this. Get rid of this. This is so slow to resolve. Why not also write this so that this card can't be countered? Because inevitably that's what they intend, obviously. They intend for it to not be countered ever. Okay. We'll see if that helps any. It probably won't. Next, we have a game on Steam called Little Witch Luana, which I would suspect is a low-effort game from the looks of the graphics. Yeah, this just looks like a low-effort game. It's $5.59 discounted, English and Portuguese Brazil. The animation style is very Western and kind of just like marker drawings. Looks like it was drawn with a marker, and it seems to me like if you were going to make this and you were Portuguese Brazilian, which I assume you were, you wouldn't try to make something that feels like it's based off an anime. Instead, you would try to make it much more your own thing. But when you actually look at the game, you can see it's just ugly. Just way too many tile set garbage all over the place. Instead of calling it Little Witch Luana, why not just translate that same phrase into Portuguese Brazilian and say that's the name of it, and then in parentheses translate that to Small Witch Luana or something. Embrace your culture instead of, and I could be wrong here, but it seems like you're leaning on the Nether's culture and the Little Witch Academia. And in all fairness, Netflix is totally leaning on another culture. Country's culture too when they're making Little Witch Academia, because they're making anime that's not really targeted to a Japanese audience or made really by a Japanese creator that cares. Let's see. Next. Might as well attack with this one. Do this. and then in return. Czech Raptor has an article here, surviving EverQuest's hard as nails classic servers. Hearing that EverQuest is hard as nails really is just another reason why I don't think I'd ever want to play EverQuest. On the other hand, EverQuest went on for a very long time, so if there was a remake, a simplified version of EverQuest that got made and released, and it wasn't just an MMO, but it had like a single player experience that had an ending and a full story there, I would be willing to play that. But if I vaguely recall, I think the owners of EverQuest long since went bankrupt, and let's see, and some new company owns it, and that's pretty much that. Let's see. If I sacrificed this and it gave it indestructible, it wouldn't really work for anything, would it? But looking at the screenshot of EverQuest here, like, this is not something I'd ever want to play. Like, this looks like an awful old MMO, where I would want some kind of first-person perspective RPG single-player experience. And that really isn't what EverQuest is. And I know it isn't what EverQuest is, but it's what I would want. And so I would be much more likely to play something like The Elder Scrolls Online than EverQuest. And frankly, it's all token-esque fantasy elements, so it's not like the lore of EverQuest, to my understanding, is significantly different than the lore of Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls series. It's all very unimportant in the day-to-day gameplay. I'm just gonna start auto-resolving all of this because there's no reason not to. And of course I'm gonna lose. Yeah, you noticing a pattern here? Where it's just like, maybe you win, but 2/3 out of the time, or maybe even 3/4 of the times, you just lose, and it has nothing to do with what you're doing whatsoever. Because there's only so much you can actually accomplish here. Huh. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam here called The Takeover. This looks like a beat-em-up brawler game. The camera's a little bit more zoomed in than normal, but you can see this is rated very positively. It's $13.99, English full audio with a bunch of subtitles for other languages. Side-scrolling beat-em-up game, a modern one at a reasonable price. This looks good to me. In fact, it looks so good I'll just put it on the wish list immediately. Alright, now choose my blockers. Gotta block that one, and then block that one, and then block that one, and then block, and then heck, let's see if we activate this. And it gives indestructible to anything. Nope, it doesn't. So we've lost. Yeah, I don't think a Silent Pro show makes any sense, because then it just has me streaming with the voice, with the volume muted, but still forces me to continue playing consistently, which is not how I am going to do this. Like, I'm going to play, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to play, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to play and take a break again. Oh, it does seem like I've made some progress with the WebDAV backup software Duplicati, the old version of it, not the 2.0 version. I did manage to get a full backup to actually work, which is surprising and shocking. But I don't know if this full backup, which claims to be an incremental backup, is in addition to a previous full backup that failed. So I don't know if it got all the files or not. And in all fairness, some of the files were definitely skipped. Some of those internal Windows files that it couldn't access were skipped. So I don't know if a full restore would actually save everything, and I guess that's always been the case with full backups, is that there was a very good chance that you weren't going to get a full stable restoration of your install. You just had more confidence that you had backed up everything, like everything. Whereas Windows' new backup system of file history, where it just kind of saves your documents and settings, is just more picky and less interesting to me. Let's see. First strike. First strike would have been useful on this card, but yeah. So unless there was one card that would clear off the field and defeat all the enemies, I have no chance of winning here. I could see if I could sacrifice food and get more health. Let's see, moving on, we have from Gamatsu the Otome visual novel Hime-Hibi, Another Princess Days, White or Black has been announced for Switch. Otome visual novels again being young maiden, young girl visual novels, usually romance visual novels. Yep, and I'm about to lose. Yeah, next we have a game named Times Squared, which says it's a first-person shooter. What's funny is this is probably an asset flip first-person shooter, and it still looks way better than Fear, which is what I'm playing right now. Because Fear is a nearly 15-year-old game. I keep calling it a 15-year-old game. Technically it's 14, but whatever. It's almost 15. The problem with this, though, is this is early access. There is some small chance that this could turn into something. It's single player only, has a third-party EULA, English full audio. Nothing here tells me immediately that it doesn't deserve to be on the fall list. So to the fall list it goes, even though there is a high chance that that it will just be another asset flip game. What they really need to do with these festivals is just have you play the game. Just like 5 games and you get the rewards, not 5 victories. There's no reason to tie this to wins. Because the only people that wouldn't get 5 wins are people who are just so dumb or so lazy that they would pay either gems or a large amount of gold like I did to get these skins and then not play the game or run out of time trying to play it. And if I did run into one of these festivals and it was just so incredibly difficult to get victories, I would be super frustrated and probably never want to do any of the festivals again. And I think Wizards of the Coast know that enough to not allow that to happen. and they want to make these things balanced. Players with mythic orange names are MTG Arena team members. Interesting. So if we see an orange kind of like this in their name, they work for MTG Arena. Next we have a game on Steam called Lurk in the Dark Prologue. It looks like a horror game, and I wouldn't really call it an asset flip adventure horror game either. There's too much variety in the content. So I'm going to put this on the follow list. It's free to play, English and Japanese. It's from a developer called Idea Fruition. And they don't even have the new pages. So, we may have a new player in horror games. Seems to be a Japanese company, if I was to guess. And we'll just see how people respond to the prologue, and we'll see how long it takes for the real game to come out. Gematsu has an article here. Dragon Ball Fighter Z DLC character Broly has a trailer. Latest add-on character due out soon. What's interesting here, of course, would be who will be voicing Broly in the video game, because it's almost certainly not Vic Mignogna. So, let's see. So, but then on the other hand, they probably have different voice actors for a lot of the games in the English translation. So, yeah. I'm not going to get deep into the whole Vic Mignogna case right now, or ever, frankly, because it's really doesn't have anything to do with video games too much, except for maybe right now. I have been following his case with some interest, and it seems like it goes back and forth, but I think it would be dishonest to say his case is going particularly well for him, since he's been ruled against in pretty much everything he's filed so far. See, TechRaptor has an article here. Pokemon National Dex cut reaffirmed by the series director. I don't know why the series director needed to reaffirm it, and I don't know why it's particularly news. I think it was pretty obvious that the that it was being cut in this game. I guess maybe what has been said now is it's not coming back for any of the future titles either. This almost seems like this is intentional, though. Like they're gonna sell 5 or 6 Pokemon games without the National Dex, and then they'll come back and say, now we're going to re-release those games with all the Pokemon National Dex included. So yeah, I would not be surprised if this is all just marketing. It's terrible marketing, to say the least, but it's marketing nonetheless. Boy, did I wish this cancel button would work. Let's see. So since we're just kind of stuck now, let's just run out the clock, I guess, and look at the last few games that we have. We have Picross IO on Steam. Looks like a Picross game. Doesn't look particularly any different or better than any of the others. It's $1.69 discounted, and it has a bunch of languages to it. So yeah, I'll put on a follow list and see if people particularly enjoy this one Picross game compared to others. And see. Trying to load up the last few articles. Tech Raptor has an article. Fight Giovanni and other Team Rocket Go leaders in Pokemon Go. Although, is it Team Rocket Go or is it just Team Rocket? Maybe it is a whole different collection of Team Rocket bad guys, particularly for Pokemon. But whatever, yeah. More bad guys and more content being added to this. Interesting. Twitch did not load up on the first try. Let's see. Follow. And apparently I've got some new Prime loot. Lego apparently has a Twitch channel, and I was following that just in case they start streaming Lego builds, I guess, or they probably would just stream Lego announcements. See, next we have a game on Steam called Ghost Grab 3000, which seems to be like a orbiting chaining game. I don't like the animation particularly well here, but it does feel like there might actually be a game here. But it would be kind of a simplistic asteroids game. Yeah, I don't really see anything here that I would want to spend more than 2 minutes playing. $3.74 discounted, bundled with several other games, bunch of language support. I don't think there's probably anything wrong with this game. If this looks entertaining to you, I would suggest checking it out, but yeah, it's just not my style as far as the way it looks like it would play. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called a bunch of Asian characters and then Frenzy Retribution, and it looks like it's a anime cat girl running around. It's probably a Chinese game, and it possibly is one of these games that looks really good but then has like an incredibly slow frame rate and does not play well. Seems like you have only one character. It's free to play, single player only, English and traditional Chinese, and then 6 achievements. So this, my guess is they're calling it hardcore high style with high penalty and high reward. Requires players to deeply understand the complex motion system and various values. In other words, it's a terribly programmed game that they couldn't sell, and so they're putting it out for free on Steam. Yeah, that's how I would take this. Yeah, I've seen several of these that look really cool and then just control awfully. People forget that video games have to actually control well. And, you know, playing Fear 1 with a controller, it doesn't really have the right sensitivity on the control stick, so you do kind of just sweep over a horizontal plane trying to shoot people instead of being able to lock in really tight and just get that headshot. And getting a headshot in Fear doesn't even really do anything because you still end up having to put in about 20 bullets into a character before they die, and that's on easy. Who knows what it would be on hard? An entire clip or two. Next we have a game on Steam called Nauseous Pines, which seems to be like some kind of drug reference troll joke game. It's tagged with sexual content, but it really just looks like it's all over the place and it's just like garbage. It's $4.24. English only. Is there anything else to really take from this? Like, what is the actual gameplay? That's the part. It's got to be almost like a visual novel if a visual novel didn't have a standard interface. It's just like all kinds of dialogue and stuff. Let's see. Like the only thing that even starts to look like gameplay is this, and that looks like it's just a brick breaker game. And this kind of looks like gameplay. Yeah, this is just all over the place. So, yeah. Next game is tag sexual content. So let me double check to make sure all the screenshots are suitable for YouTube. Which I suppose I got away with it. As far as that one video that showed full-on nudity on accident because it was a screenshot on Steam. Nobody never got any kind of community guideline strike or anything. I was able to pull down the video and edit it out, and seems like so few people were watching that YouTube wasn't watching. So here we have a game called My Fair Princess. It's a visual novel, if I was to guess, by the amount of detail and lines and art style, almost certainly a Japanese game. Looks pretty good visually. Yep. Let's see. It's $29.74 discounted, which that's the price of a high quality thing, and full audio Japanese. Alright. It's being sold by Soul Press, which, if we were to look at Soul Press, what else have they published? We've only published a few things. Newton and the Apple Tree, Under One Wing, Sakura Sakura, all positive, and only the game Dere Sora, Tears for the Unknown Sky, is mixed. So everything that they put out as a publisher is high quality, so they have a name behind what they're doing, which does justify it staying on the fall list. Let's see. Was there something about the Epic Game Store? Yeah, November 8th they had a tweet. We're aware that Ubisoft products and players' libraries may be stuck at the requires Ubisoft login, and that issue has been resolved. And now they're doing a creator appreciation event where you can earn a $10 Epic coupon by supporting your favorite creator. Interesting. That's a good idea, though. Steam should steal that. Like, we'll give you in-store credit if you buy games from this specific creator or support them in some other way. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Ashland, which looks like it's a Last of Us style clone game with like some kind of weird Japanese creatures chasing after you. I don't know if this is probably Chinese creatures chasing after you. This almost certainly seems to be player versus player, because you're not staying as just a normal person or one of these magical creatures. You're switching back and forth. This is mixed. It says it's an adventure RPG game. Yeah. It seems like it has some stealth elements. It tries to have. It feels like it's a lot like that game, I think, Dead by Daylight. Early access, English not supported, $16.49 discounted. Yeah. Yeah. This is one of those, I think, asynchronous multiplayer games. right? Nope. Yeah, online player versus player only. And of course, the reason why they want to make these online player versus player games is because then you don't have to really write any story or do anything. But this doesn't. Yeah, it's a asymmetric. 1 versus 4. I guess that's the right word, is asymmetric, not asynchronous. That means something different. Yeah. Bunch of monsters. It's basically just Dead by Daylight. We've now been waiting 16 minutes and 30 seconds for this to work. And the cancel button does nothing. Like, I clicked this clearly 10 minutes ago. MTG Arena still needs some work. You know what? I think what we'll do is we'll go through 2 more things and then we'll wrap up, because we're already going a little long and I don't feel the need to try and stretch this out or try to make a 3rd episode. Alright, so this next game is Tag Nudity. Let me just double check all of the screenshots. This one's a little bit weird, I would say, too. Here we have a game on Steam called Legend of Everything. It's Tag Nudity Casual Adventure Anime. It looks like it has visual novel elements to it, but then it seems to be kind of a pirate themed type story. Seems like it's kind of all over the place. You've got cat girls, you've got elves. It's $9.59. It's English only. It's probably not good, because it does seem like it's all over. It seems like it's just a lot of cut and paste. I fully believe that this character is not from the same original creation as this character, and they've just been cut and pasted. I fully believe that this character, who's like wearing jeans and like factory made clothing, is from a completely different story than this character, who seems to be wearing more of a traditional type of clothing, handmade. Yeah, I think this is just playing into so many tropes and like maid, cat girl, and so it seems pandering, and for that reason I'm not gonna put it on the follow list. I think there's enough red flags there to say that it can't possibly be a good quality product. And then here we have Apple Arcade hits 100 games with 6 new arrivals, including apparently discolored. Do they list the 6 new things? They do throughout the body of this entire text. Yep. So Stadia is coming out with like 16 games. Apple Arcade has already 100. Take that as a realistic comparison. I think there's a much higher chance, if anybody's going to go to anything, which is a huge if. Like I would fully believe that what actually happens is people don't do anything at all and they just stick with their same old systems, consoles, things like that. So that brings me to the Humble Bundle store, which the Idea Factory bundle, which I already bought, has 17 more hours, and the Day of Devs has 17 more hours, so there's nothing new as far as that. And then that just puts me on my Twitter feed, and I'll just scroll down. And see if there's any new tweets. And I think the answer to that is pretty much not really. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. Throne of Eldraine Season 2 dates and rewards are being tweeted out from MTG Arena. I'm going to not bother mentioning that information though. I'll just know it for my own personal use. Desert Bus for Hope is doing a giveaway where if you donate $16.66, you get a chance to win 4 VIP tickets to the Penn and Teller in Rio, one night in Rio, in Vegas, plus gift bags. Which, if you want to see Penn and Teller, you should probably do it as quickly as possible because there are physical reasons why they will not probably be around in the next 4 or 5 years. Like, they're going to have to retire for medical reasons. I would suspect, or at the very least, they'll start slowing down the number of showings. On the other hand, if you like the Penn and Teller you see on like Fullus, you may not be particularly even happy with their stage show, because their stage show is slightly more aggressive and controversial, I would say, than their cleaned up Fullus presentations. I wouldn't say it's extremely unfamily friendly for Penn and Teller shows, but it might be. Have some objectionable material. Alright, well, not with a bang, but with a whimper do we end today's MTG stream. Just 22 minutes and 59 seconds of waiting to connect. Yeah, that's real time. That's real time wasted. And if I wasn't talking about the news, I would exit out and then I'd get back in. But even exiting out and launching back in is a big hassle. That's going to be it for the stream. I'm going to do the rest of the festival off screen. Probably get all the daily quests done off screen. And possibly play to a level of success to at least 10 victories. On days that I do play Magic, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, at the very least, I try to get those 10 victories. That's going to be it for the stream, though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.